That looks gorgeous where you live with the lake.
Hi, gorgeous.
Hey girl, how are you? Yeah, definitely. No, yeah, so
Nice.
my background, gosh, so similar to you, like you right, like the sort of government background was there. So I sort of, left school at 17 and I was always very entrepreneurial from school. I was like, I will be a business owner. Like I'm not gonna have a job because it's just not what I want. So of course I just didn't see any point in going to university because I'm not trying to get employed. I'm trying to be a businesswoman.
Yeah.
So I would think it was when I was at school, I was okay, I want to work in marketing. Like I knew I wanted to work in marketing. And, teachers and fellow students would say, well, Jazz, you need to go to university to work in marketing. It's the only way. And I was like, no, like watch me. Like you watch. And so I sort of quit. I dropped out of school, like sort of college. Um when I was 17, I got like a job in just sort of like a business admin job, as like an apprentice, which is a bit like an internship thing where you get paid to learn. And then because I was only like 17, by the time I finished, because I was 18 with like a year's working experience, I was able to apply for like all these like apprenticeships and like trainee jobs where people my age would also be applying.
So
But
by the
as
time you're 18, you had like a year's worth of experience, you're
Exactly.
saying.
So I was like ahead of the game essentially. So I managed to like land myself like a really exciting marketing role in government where I was able to just train and stuff. And then after like a year and a half working there, I was in a position where I was like, okay, public sector isn't for me. Like I'm gonna go into the private sector. So that's where I sort of delved into like my career in like other creative agencies, other marketing agencies. And then obviously I just saw like what my bosses were doing, what, they were obviously CEOs of like marketing agencies. And I was like, okay, cool, I can do this. And then that's when I sort of got into freelancing. So I started off just like freelancing on the side. By the time I've had all my jobs and sort of built a career for myself, I'm probably about just 20, sort of
Okay.
20, 21. Uh,
Nice.
and then I think it was around 21, that's when I really like set up my first business where I was like a freelance. And I was like, the first thing I went into was the first avenue of marketing I really honed in on as like a self-employed business owner was web design. So getting into web development because I just saw that I just thought, okay, I need like some sort of digital technical skill I'm gonna be able to like just pack up and offer to people. So that was like my initial service. And then yeah, I've just been
Can I
doing
ask you
that.
a question? Was that hard? Because it's competitive, right? Like was it like word of mouth, friends? How did you get
Yeah.
website development
So
clients?
interestingly enough, so my colleague at the time, Alan, he was a web developer within the company, and I asked him, like, oh, how do I do web? And he showed me, how to do websites. So I just kept learning. And I went to go get my car from my local mechanic, and I said to him, he was like, oh, what are you up to? Like, what do you do for work? I was like, oh, I'm a freelance web designer, but I only like decided that like a week ago. But I was like, yeah, I'm a freelance web designer. And then he just said, "Oh, I need a website." So he was like my first ever client.
Yay! That's always
I just,
exciting, right? You're the first client you get
yeah,
as your
it
own
was
is
so
always so
exciting.
exciting.
So
Yeah.
I did his website for him, but like ever since
What
him,
did you charge, if I may ask? Because I think we tend to lowball ourselves when we're first getting in because we want to get the client and then we realize this
yeah,
is not enough money to live on and pay staff and whatever. And then we up our prices as our experience level
yeah.
grows. So how much did you charge him for your first website?
It was barely anything. So like my first ever sale was well £750.
Okay,
But for a first time that is quite impressive because
that
there are
is.
few newbies who will start off around like the 250 or £500 mark. And now like obviously my like one of the latest projects I did was like 7,500. So it's like
Right.
it's like it has really gone up. But yes, obviously I did that for him, and then ever since him I've just never not had like work like I've never not had a website client or clients. So it's like that was probably like just before the lockdown. So that was probably yeah, 5 or 6 years ago now. Sort of when I was 20, yeah. So yeah, and then ever since then I've just been, and then I was still working, as well and doing that on the side. And then it was probably during lockdown when I was working in another government role in networking, like network engineering. I was like doing the business, the freelancing full time. And I was like, I can actually do this full time, like the demand's there. And then that's when I founded the beauty of marketing, because I just really, really enjoyed working with the beauty businesses and the beauty sector the most. So
Okay,
that's where I
okay.
thought I'm gonna basically create an agency where beauty businesses can come and get all their marketing needs met. And that's where I was like, I just instantly, the beauty of marketing just came into my head, and I just registered it, like did the domain, everything, built a website, and the branding was all pink and sparkly and stuff, at the beginning. But now obviously I've transitioned and changed and the branding and stuff. And but yeah, it's going really well, and there's definitely a demand for it. So I'm having fun, and yeah.
So how did you get into Shopify? And I know it's not just you, like you have to have a team because you have
Yeah.
different elements. I know you guys do the research and all that stuff. So tell me about moving from website to Shopify and working with some of these beauty brands. And then, what you learned in terms of best practices or what works for conversions. And then we'll look at some sites.